It's a third line day. Hello and welcome to Gate 2, Line 3, which is called Patience. Now, the G center is a very special center. It's the diamond at the heart of the body graph. It has 8 gates, which between them make up 2 crosses, the crosses of love and direction. And these are the energies that are locked into the background frequency of our planet. The G center is the home of the magnetic monopole, our driver. And the gates here, they divide the mandala up into 8 equal parts, with the Sphinx gates, the gates of direction, being at the start of each of the quarters, and then the love gates being in the middle of each quarter. The love gates are markers for the equinoxes and the solstices. It's a very special center. And the G center gates are often very special in comparison to other lines of the same kind, Ra said, and that this is particularly true for the second gate, line 3, the 2-3. Third lines are adaptive. They have their trial and error process. This is individuality, and individuality is mutative. Mutative energy is a matter of trial and error. This is something that we know. There are mutative processes going on all the time, and they are all really a matter of trial and error until the right and the most successful mutation takes place and takes hold. The other mutations just disappear because they were not productive or viable. The mutative process really exemplifies the third and the sixth lines. The third line provides the right mix, trial and error to find the right mutation. This third line, Ra says, is the most exalted of all the 64 third lines, and it is called patience. The lifetime learning says, the teacher that never stops being a student. This is the teacher who can show you where to go and how to get there, because they have learned this for themselves. They learn it through trial and error. They learn it through their life process. This is not someone saying, do as I say, not as I do. This is someone who has tried it. They've been out there already. They're the pioneer who can share their knowing and empower others. And the exaltation says dedication to a lifetime of receptivity with the maturity to accept that the process never ends. When connected permanently to gate 14 through the beat channel, rewards for services rendered. The recognition that receptivity is a lifelong process. So gate 2 is the gate of higher knowing, but it's also called the receptive. And that is coming through this theme here in the third line. Mutation is something that is never going to stop. It's an ongoing process. We must never lose our vigilance, in a sense. We must realize that all kinds of mutative possibilities are in the world at the same time, looking for some kind of supremacy, looking to take hold, looking to make themselves felt, although they're not necessarily intelligent. It's, what I mean, we kind of put these human qualities onto them. But this is what mutation is doing all the same. In the same way, our genetic material is constantly in competition for which genes are going to dominate in the global gene pool. This is an ongoing process, and we are involved in it whether we are conscious of it or not. Third lines make bonds and break bonds. They bump into things, they meet the unexpected. The knowing they have comes from patience. Patience is the teacher who knows the way, who can show you the way the easiest, who can explain the way the best. In the detriment we have, for the revolutionary, patience is a vice. Higher knowing that cannot wait and demands expression. This is the pull of the ego who says, oh no, not another change. This direction will do. This is the right one. I'm going to stay with it. I can't afford to go off on another one. So it's the opposite of the patience. It's jumping from one thing to another thing rapidly, constantly breaking bonds, which can be very destabilizing. those with the 2, 3 have to be aware that for them to have many different directions in life is not only natural, but it's also healthy. It's healthy for them to break the bonds of direction, try another one until they find whichever one it is that really works for them. And even then, that might not last for their whole life, and they still might end up breaking the bond with that one, trying something new. We can also find the second gate, line 3, who finds a shortcut and they want to use it and they want to tell everyone else about it, but they haven't actually used it for themselves yet. And so what the consequence of that shortcut will be, where it leads, is unknown. So their impatience in this sense can lead to a lack of authenticity. Everyone who carries the second gate is a teacher, in the sense that they are always providing a direction, whether they want to or not. And this is what teacher means in this sense. But also they can never stop being a student. They think maybe they're going in the right direction, and then they bump into something and it takes them off into another direction and they learn something new. The word teacher, and I looked up the etymology of it, back in the early 14th century, it used to mean index finger, someone who directs, demonstrates, points out. And often when we're asked for direction, we'll end up, literally pointing the way. Oh, you want to go down there and turn left, pointing. Gate 1, line 3, is called the energy to sustain creative work. So this is an interesting line for a center that is not a motor. So we see that it is a potential only. And what it tells us is that this ability to sustain creative work is going to be dependent on its connection with others to hook it up to a motor. And meeting the correct other is a matter of trial and error, as well as strategy and authority, of course. The first and second gates support each other, and the second gate has the potential for the right direction, but it really needs gate 14 to power it. Gate 14 is in the sacral. Otherwise, it's a car with no fuel. The first gate has the potential to sustain creative work, but this is also only a potential until the fuel comes along. So both gates in that sense need patience, and especially if they're hanging gates, not defined to a motor. There's quite a lot of planetary movement today. Saturn went into gate 22 at 7:18 this morning. Saturn can bring the flavor of the taskmaster. It's a discipline that allows us to follow through with our jobs and tasks in this lifetime. Whatever is left unattended to will show up as a limitation or as a burden that hinders our progress until we accept our obligations. Gate 22 is in the solar plexus. It's the gate of openness and grace, or not. And we are required here to learn about correct timing and the importance of paying attention to our moods and honoring our moods and our own sense of our own timing. Venus goes into gate 24 at 17:04. This is an Ajna gate that rationalizes the inspiration pulsing through gate 61. Bringing the energy of an individual thinker, a contemplator. This is the mind that can loop through the same thoughts over and over for as long as it takes for a rational concept to emerge. And Mars goes into gate 17 at 17:21. This is the gate of opinions, which we've just experienced through the moon. The gate that is looking for logical facts to back up its opinions before it sends them out into the world. Or not, because it might just send them out anyway without the facts and opinions, because Mars can be a little bit immature like that. Currently, the moon is still in gate 17, and at 13:13, it moves into gate 21. This is the gate of the hunter or the huntress. It's often called the gate of control. The moon is bringing some focus to those things in life that can be important for us to have control over, such as what we eat or what we wear. In the larger picture, it could be where we work. Is there some attention needed, do you think, in one or all of these areas? Is that something you could explore through the window the moon is giving us today? And at 22 24, we move into the gate of shock. The moon takes us into gate 51, the gate that is shared currently with the North Node and is meeting Neptune and Venus a little later on in gate 25. This is where we are invited to initiation, to the possibility of leaping into the void with a brave heart and a courageous spirit, meeting the shaman on the other side to continue the journey towards awakening. And there has to be the or not, because it can also be that the shaman says, no, you're not ready. You haven't passed this initiation this time. You have to go back to the ego, go back to the material way. You're not ready for this yet. So this is the energy that we're all swimming in with the transits of the nodes and Neptune. Can you feel anything like that at the moment? And the final moon gate is the 735 gate of growth. The gate of growth is not 735. The gate of growth is gate 42 at 735. This is also the gate of endings. It's that the consistent pressure to finish what has been started. And if the energy to begin something was correct to begin with, there will also be the energy to see it through to completion. Strategy and authority, almost certainly. Those are our transits for today. There's quite a lot going on today. So thank you very much for watching. And we are in the fourth line tomorrow. So I will see you then. And until then, go gently.